When I was 17, I quoted Zora Neale Hurston's How It Feels to Be Colored Me in my college application essay. The line that spoke to me stated simply, I am not tragically colored. There is no sorrow dammed up in my soul nor lurking behind my eyes. I do not mind at all. At 17, I had no idea what life would bring, but Zora's sentiment articulated so beautifully how I felt as a daughter of immigrants then and now. Nothing about me was or is tragic. I am perfectly made. I can wax eloquent on complex legal issues in English while also belting Guayaquil de mis amores in Spanish. I can change a diaper with one hand and console a crying toddler with the other. I am a woman of color. I am a mom. I am a cisgender millennial who's been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. I am intersectional, but my existence is not a box-checking exercise. I am a walking declaration, a woman whose inflection does not rise at the end of her sentences, suggesting that a question has been asked. I did not sneak into CIA. My employment was not and is not the result of a fluke or slip through the cracks. I earned my way in, and I earned my way up the ranks of this organization. I am educated, qualified, and competent, and sometimes I struggle. I struggle feeling like I could do more, be more to my two sons, and I struggle leaving the office when I feel there's so much more to do. I used to struggle with imposter syndrome, but at 36, I refuse to internalize misguided patriarchal ideas of what a woman can or should be. I am tired of feeling like I'm supposed to apologize for the space I occupy rather than intoxicate people with my effort, my brilliance. I am proud of me, full stop. My parents left everything they knew and loved to expose me to opportunities they never had. Because of them, I stand here today a proud first-generation Latina and officer at CIA. I am unapologetically me. I want you to be unapologetically you, whoever you are. Know your worth. Command your space. Mija, you're worth it.
Girl boss, gaslight, gatekeep, baby. Let's go.
I had imposter syndrome when I helped the CIA kill Saddam Hussein. Fucking crazy, dude. Do you think, in a way, they're getting what they wanted out of this ad? Like, obviously, the whole thing here is to pander to, like, inclusion and shit, right? While, like, the reality is they're, like, you know, pandering to, like, young, stupid kids out of college. Like, hey, we're intersectional, but the reality is they're the CIA and they fucking murder people as their job.
Like, literally one of the pillars of American white supremacy. It's just fucking...
Right. But even if that outreach, like, thing doesn't work and, like, yeah, we all make fun of this video and shit, like, people are talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
We did
Minty.
just watch it.
Minty is the talk of the chat. Hugly and Hugly and Jose, thank you for the resubs. Appreciate you. Jose with 6 months. Josh with 2 months. We really appreciate that.
We came in with like 12 viewers into the.
Yeah, I know. I was sitting there like, what the fuck?
Like never happens. Yeah.
Shout out everybody who decided to join at the start. Hope you guys enjoyed the fucking CIA propaganda. That's just cool.
Yeah, here's how that video makes me feel. Nothing.
Our intersectional fucking bilingual girl boss, Mija, you're worth it shirt wearing war criminal.
I mean, do you guys want? I think I've said like it's pretty obvious to everyone, right? Like the video, like how fucking hilarious it is.
Oh yeah, no, I think you like, and most people like generally like depending on like I mean, regardless of how like apolitical you are, like you understand like the intelligence agencies are shit.
Right. So let's think about.
Here's the page of the video real quick, so you can see the like to dislike ratio.
Everybody collectively understands how
10,000 to 10,000 dislikes to 720 likes. So who are they trying to? Who is this selling to then?
I mean, you kind of put like just like the hapless, like doesn't really care about politics, but wants like people
like a job.
People who genuinely, either people posturing for a job or people who genuinely like Joe Biden and think that just because you have more Latinas and Black people in your administration, you're somehow just more progressive by default.
Right.
And you know, and yeah, it's like it's devoid of any sort of deeper thought or like nuance, in that like these people, regardless of them being from like minority communities or whatever, still, like I said at the beginning jokingly, upholding the pillars of, you know, what is America and like American white supremacy, like legitimately.
Right. Yeah.
Like the CIA could be like 99% like black people and it would still be the same shitty CIA. Like the issue isn't who's in it, the issue is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, great point. And I think, yeah, like maybe in a way, like this kind of reflects like the moment we're in too. With, and what by that I mean like the Democratic Party and like, you know, the neoliberal rot that's set in, because like this is almost in that vein, right? Like if we're saying who are they trying to go after with this video? Because like we're saying, most people watch this and they go, yeah, the CIA is fucking the worst thing that's ever existed, so this is fucking hilarious. But we're saying they're pandering to like, you know, college students that are generally apolitical, but that's like the perfect description of the fucking Democratic Party, is just like professionalism and like, you know, status, having a college degree, etc., but being completely devoid of like actual values. Like, you know, still serving the intelligence agencies and corporate power.
And yeah, like that's like the other thing. It's like regardless of who this is pandering to, like you can just like, you know, like a YouTube like to dislike ratios and everything, obviously, but that
But it
like
definitely
that
tells the story.
yeah, and the dislike is, it's not just lefties, you know. There's 10K lefties can't get together to collectively dislike something, you know. We're too busy fighting. So, you know, this obviously comes from both sides of the spectrum. Like most people realize how shitty the CIA is.
Yeah. But in a way too, like I think we've said this in the past with other like hilarious videos like this from other agencies and like Twitter accounts. Like there's dabbing on this.
Oh yeah.
Like this is, they're laughing too maybe when they make shit like this.
Like anybody who thinks the Human Rights Watch is any sort of like legitimate sort of fucking institution, when it gave Raytheon a fucking, or was it Raytheon who got the fucking award for most like LGBTQ staff or whatever?
Yeah, it was like most diverse staff.
Yeah, when it's
I think it was Raytheon. It was either
yeah,
Raytheon or like Boeing or something.
when they literally are fucking just making bombs to go kill people. It's Human Rights Watch.
Do you remember when we just came back from that hike with Cade Kesterson, and there's that little road when you turn
Way
in
to
from Channel
name
Island?
drop and fucking get it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he doesn't care. He does. I think he's a caveman or something. I don't think he even uses the internet. But like when you pull off the one there, you know, the one highway coming into Oxnard, into Channel Islands right there, there's a little road called Raytheon Road.
Oh yeah. That shit was funny.
Crazy.
Just they really own this shit.
Yeah, just okay. Mask off.
I mean, it makes sense. We have like fucking how many bases in our proximity?
One.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, we have way more than one. We have.
Kidding.
Well, we have the Magoo, Channel Island, the Air Force one in Lompoc.
CB?
Yeah, that's the Channel Island CB one. We have like 3 or 4.
And Magoo's like a big base. Like Magoo is like
Channel Islands is no joke too. That's like a huge, like they get big ass boats in there. Yeah, fuck yeah. And the like Vanderbilt base or whatever, the Lompoc, like a little inward from Santa Barbara kind of. That Air Force base is huge. There's some sketchy shit going on there. Like we drove past there and there's like a NASA facility there and shit. And,
oh shit.
Yeah, there's like one of those empty like mining towns that everyone left because like the groundwater, I'm pretty sure, is ass.
Beyond fucked.
Yeah.
Shit.
Hell yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. But you know, intersectionality.
Of course. More diversity. It makes things better.
Anyone have any like final thought? I mean, yeah, this is just insane. I think the video kind of tells the story, but
death to the institution that is the CIA. No personal threats to any specific person.
Except all of them.
In a video game.
In a video game. A video game called Real Life.
Somebody just knocked on my door.
Oh, fuck. So we want to move to our next little piece then? Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get into it.
Hell yeah. If I'm constantly chewing bread here, don't mind me. I have AIDS. It's a well-known side effect. You need yeast consumption. Who threw this in here? Was this Jose?
I think that was Jose.
Let's read it. It says, to America, is from Ted Cruz. To America's watch me woke it up CEOs, I say. When the time comes that you need help with a tax break or a regulatory change, I hope the Democrats take your calls because we may not. Starting now, we won't take your money either. Why did fucking Jose send this to us?
Corby, I don't think the election laws. Do you want to go to your piece and I'll read through this and see what's up?
Well, let's read it. I want to see how bad Jose's meter is for choosing articles.
Okay, so do you want to open the article? It's a Wall Street Journal piece. Wall Street Journal opinion piece. Your woke money is no good here. Corporations take advantage of Republicans. Have taken advantage of Republicans for too long. I won't take their PAC dollars anymore. Oh, this is from Ted Cruz. I'm not paying for this shit, so we're only going to read the first 4. Georgia's new election laws runs 98 generously spaced pages. A fast reader can get through to one sitting. You're the CEO of a major corporation. You may pay to do it for you, but I don't think CEOs took time to read Georgia's Election Integrity Act of 2021 because it's so much what to say is nonsense. Coca-Cola said he opposed measures in the bills and would diminish or deter access to voting. Which measures? The ones that allow several forms of. Oh, so he's just defending.
Yeah. Well, I'm reading this part here. It says that it's from Cruz. This time we won't look the other way on Coca-Cola's $12 billion in back taxes owed. He's basically saying like, oh, now we're gonna go after the corporations now that CEOs are being woke.
Now that they're not. Now
like,
that they're
what a bitch.
Now that they're playing into the strengths of a liberal capitalist democracy.
Yeah.
That now they're like,
now that they're adapting like you told them to, you fucking scumbag.
Exactly. Now you basically told them learn how to code and they did. And this is what happens. And now they're like, fuck.
I mean, it's interesting because it shows like, I mean, we all know the fucking reality is like, while these corporations pilfer like, you know, the average man's fucking dollar and ruin this country, like, while that's happening, Ted Cruz has no problem giving these corporations massive tax breaks. But now that they've decided to be woke, that's the line. Like, yeah, all right.
Well, yeah, because he's no longer benefiting from it.
Exactly. Yeah. Because he'll do his own shtick.
Because even though they all agree behind the scenes, these corporations' public image is something that doesn't represent Ted Cruz's politics.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And they're not willing to ride with Ted Cruz into the ground because profit's their bottom line.
Exactly. Being more of a fucking intersectional, like, Democrat type is going to get you way more money in the long run than being anti-abortion, anti-gay rights kind of thing.
Right. And that's not to say that he's the, he's a slaying corporations here, because the whole point is all the bad shit corporations actually fucking do, Ted Cruz has been an arbiter for them to just allow them to do that. So,
and that's also to say not that the Democrats that are in the positions of power right now or any sort of advocates for anything slightly progressive, them limping over the finish line for gay marriage and whatnot is in no way, shape, or form a positive thing besides the fact that the legislation was passed.
Right. Yeah, famously, I mean, was it Nike that did the Kaepernick sponsorship?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, everyone gets the hypocrisy there. Well, Nike does that. Well, meanwhile, they have fucking sweatshops and shit.
Yeah.
So,
can we talk about Caitlyn Jenner really quick and how the?
That'd be interesting. Yeah, yeah. I guess while we're in this like space of miscellaneous, yeah.
I'm seriously considering getting me a Caitlyn for California hat before she disappears into the nothingness.
Can she win?
Absolutely not. I don't like.
Really?
No.
You really don't think she has any chance?
Especially her running as a Republican. really not even in that Republicans wouldn't come out, because I think I mean, you can already see it, like, you know, before Caitlyn Jenner came out and saying things like just basically shitting on like wokeness politics and her stance against defending the integrity of girls' sports,
Right.
not allowing no
transgender
trans,
sports.
her saying she's a traditional woman when it comes to marriage. Basically her saying I don't support gay marriage.
Right. Right.
Like she's lining up with these Republicans, and we can already see them kind of not going out of their way to purposely misgender her, saying, using like, dead naming Caitlyn Jenner, etc., etc. Like they're already turning head and tail to like rally behind the woke version of a Republican.
Right.
But like
they'll use her pronouns while they fucking restrict healthcare for trans people.
Yeah, exactly. It's just I don't see her, like, maybe she'll get like she'll get some numbers in the Republican caucus or whatever the fuck, but no chance she fucking wins that shit. And you'll put a gun to my head before I fucking vote for somebody like that. Like,
well, I would say the same. Like, she has no chance, but the fact that we even entertain that thought shows how shit the
absolutely,
the Democratic administration fucking is.
Like some random Olympic athlete, and is just
has a history of being not just, like you're saying, socially conservative, but being that now she is a fucking elite with a super rich family, has been fiscally conservative her whole life too.
Yeah, and like she even she's gone on the campaign trail and said specifically she's going to be more socially liberal but fiscally conservative. So it's
right, her socially liberal is fucking not even socially.
So she's
liberal.
a Democrat.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
She's But yeah, but it's just like every single, just day in and day out, more and more comes out. And it's just like God, you're just like terrible. Like I can't stand your politics. Like it's there. Here, I actually have a clip I'm gonna send really quick. Look at links, Carlos, and pull this one up.
Yeah, but the only reason she even gets any attention, other than obviously she has a lot of money and she's a fucking elite, is that Gavin Newsom has done so shit, as a governor.
Yeah.
Most of fucking Republicans' calls to recall him are bullshit and for the most retarded reasons out there. But let's be real. Not only did he initially botch handling COVID in the state, but yeah, I mean, there's just an enumeration of things. He's not. Yeah, we could even point out the was it Prop 15? What was the Prop 21, 22?
21. The
21,
Uber thing?
The Uber one, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that happened in our state alone, that should indict him as garbage.
Absolutely.
What was he before? The mayor of San Francisco?
Mm-hmm.
One of the places where rent is the highest in the country, and then he becomes governor and rent control doesn't fucking pass anywhere. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and not I guess a side note of that, more culture war-y stuff is, Republicans will always say oh, Democrat cities, Democrat states, look at it's all collapsing, but it's all the see communism or whatever doesn't work, blah 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 blah. But it's these policies, besides them being grifters or whatever, they ideologically will agree with these things, but simply because it's D under the title, they have to, yell and say Marxist social communism, California, right. Recall Newsom. When it's it's
even though Carlos pointed out they're fiscally conservative.
Yeah, it's conservative or conservative adjacent policies that are ruining the United States of America, and they obviously are not going to ever admit to that because they want to preserve their shitty ideology. But it's
remember when Newsom vetoed ranked choice voting?
Yep.
And we almost had that.
Other
states have it already.
Boon that would be yeah, I mean, just on an electoral basis, we could have had. We might not have had Gavin Newsom if we had ranked choice voting. So, yeah.
Do we want to play these Jenner clips?
Both
you want
of
to play
them?
the first one, the one at the top that you already have, and then we'll play the other one after.
California. My friends are leaving California. Actually, we're at my hangar. The guy across right over from me, he was packing up his hangar. I said, "Where are you going?" And he says, "I'm moving to Sedona, Arizona. I can't take it here anymore. I can't walk down the streets and see the homeless. I don't want to leave. Okay, either I stay and fight, or I get out of here." California.
Yeah, before like just straight up like hangar mate, super rich hangar mate is leaving Commie, California because there's too many homeless people on the streets. Like just like the straight the brain dead like elitist, not understanding fucking how stupid she sounds saying that, and on Fox. And you can like there's like more and more clips, and you can even tell at the end like Hannity, he's kind of the guy like doing the interview. He's kind of like, "Uh-oh, you made an idiot of yourself." And then go ahead and play this one.
But okay. Girls, transgender sports, yes. People that like Joy that say the wrong thing.
Joy that says, you know, I mentioned a second ago, my mom sometimes, you know, when she gets upset, you know, I don't have a problem with that. The community has a bigger problem with that than I do. I stick with my statements that I made. I think we have to make sure that the integrity of girls' sports is there. I think that's extremely important.
The thing that's most important in life, the integrity of girls' sports.
There's more to it than just what I said, because I just said biological boys in sports. There's more to it than that. And I think in the future I will explain more of that. But for me,
I will only play biological boys in sports.
A trans woman.
This part.
I think role models are extremely important for young people.
Listen.
Trans issues people struggle with big time. Our suicide rate is 9 times higher than the general public.
I fucking wonder why, dipshit.
For me to be a role model for them, to be out there. I am running for governor of the state of California. Who would have ever thunk that? We've never even had a woman governor.
But some are mad at you.
That's I don't, you know, I move on. I want to be a role model, and I think and to be a leader. And I think the most important thing as a leader that you can do is your compassion, your honesty. And I think that sometimes is very lacking in politics. So I want to be an example to all people, not just trans people, that this is what you can do.
Why on the sports side of it, though?
Why don't I what?
Why did you, how you came down on the sports side of the issue?
I don't know why, to be honest with you, I don't know why they keep asking that. What do you think, Sean? I don't know. Why do they keep asking me that question?
Great question.
It is a good question, but we can deal with that. There's more
Actually,
problems here in the state of California.
I have an interesting question. Like, why do you suppose that? I mean, obviously, it's like one of those fucking, you know, wedge issues or whatever, where Republicans always bring up the integrity of sports. So they're always going to get some demographic of people to get mad about that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it is really funny that it is one of like the issues they always bring up, because it's like, well, here's what I think it is. Like, I'm sure you guys agree too. Like, since, and I'm talking like normal Republican voters that for some reason care about like the integrity of sports. Since there is no like actual integrity to like American political life or anything like that, or like a real meritocracy, they gotta think that sports is like the ultimate true meritocracy or something. Like, it's the only thing that it's gotta be true, because it's like a reflection of how they don't really have that in their actual life.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously they're not thinking of it like that.
But it's like a broader. Yeah, no, I get what you mean.
Yeah, that's the psychosis underneath.
My favorite part about this, like, specifically, is just how vapid she is, and how you can tell like this is nothing more than just a career move.
Yeah.
Like, she said it
right there. Suicide rate.
Like, she said it right there. She's like, I want to be a role model, and I want to be a leader. Like, like those are nothing but just that's a career move. You want people to idolize you because that's all you care about is your image, you know. And yeah, like she's like when she brought up like trans issues. A lot of people have issues with like trans rights is a big toughie for a lot of people. It's like, oh, really? Like, look who's talking. And then yeah, trans suicide rate. It's like, oh, you continuing to shit on your own community with a non-existent issue is definitely not contributing to anything like that at all. Like, you're not making trans lives worse by going on Fox and agreeing with psycho Republicans about how we gotta, they're coming and they're ruining the integrity of sports that nobody cares about. Like, what the fuck?
It's just ridiculous. Like on your like web page, when they click like on your top 5 issues, is one of them integrity of women's sports. Like, who fucking cares?
And like I guess like another, like, just so it's on the record, like a really interesting statistic came out not too long ago, because like the whole culture war like argument is, you're just gonna transition to get scholarships, blah 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 blah, the easy record setting, or like a study came out, like it just in the history of like American schools, and especially since it's become an issue, like a wedge issue. Not a single trans person that has ever gotten a sports scholarship, like ever. Like no trans person has ever received any sort of scholarship for sports or athleticism. Not a single one. So it's like your entire like whole argument is based off of literally nothing but transphobic fears. Like there's no basis to any of it at all.
Right, and our view obviously is like fucking, higher education should be free anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And like with the record setting shit, I would just add it to the same thing. Like, who fucking cares? Like, dude, we have way more pressing matters in life. Especially like if your whole point is you're in the political life and space, like, god damn. That's why, yeah, I think the real point of bringing it up, other than the wedge issue thing, is like people care about it because it's a way of like finding meaning and structure in life. Like, there's some meritocracy and hierarchy where things work. If you're the best and you're the best at it, then you get rewarded. And people need that because real life isn't fucking like that.
They want the illusion of the sport to kind of bleed into the reality almost.
Yeah, because the reality is sometimes it doesn't matter how hard you work or how good you are. Sometimes you just get the short end of the stick and get fucked.
The majority of the time.
Yeah, for the majority of people, yeah, that's what you get. Exactly. Yeah, what a horrible human being. I hope she. It's weird though, because it's like that's the state of our politics, right? Like, obviously she's garbage and she's a fucking reactionary on almost all the issues, but on the other side we got Gavin Newsom, fucking, like Carl said, vetoes ranked choice voting, fucking, makes Uber drivers serfs in the new like fucking neolib gig economy. Get out of here.
What's our option? That he was I think he's related by marriage or through marriage to Nancy Pelosi.
Interesting. Well,
like it's not far off or something.
Remember he had like his ex-wife was someone elite. Oh, yeah, they were laying on that rug in like that fancy ass.
Who the fuck mansion. Was that?
It might be one of the Trump son's current wives. Don't quote me on that.
No, I think you might be right. I was gonna say like
it might literally be that crazy.
I was gonna say it was Ghislaine, but I was like, no, that's too.
No, that'd be. Yeah, it's like one of the son's fucking wives, or like.
More or less, the rich elite of society always keeps seeming to end up at the top of all these elections.
Yep.
It was Kimberly Guilfoyle.
Guilfoyle, yeah, Guilfoyle River.
Yes.
Yeah, who's she? Is she with one of the Trump sons?
No, not now at least. Unless they're dating and not married yet.
Well, if you look up her and Newsom.
Oh, yeah, she is. She's with Trump Jr.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. She's dating him at least.
Yeah, she's dating Trump Jr.
Come on, Trump Jr. Lock that shit down.
Mother, sister, patriot, proud American.
Newsom's probably a savage though.
Well, you think back to like Chris Hedges.
It's alright, bro.
Like
I don't
Richard
want that
Wolff,
shit no
it's
more.
all
Yeah, you can have it, little bro.
It's all small, tight knit, relatively groups of people who come out of these elite institutions.
Yep. Yeah, that's why like I was kind of pointing out there, like, man, I mean, people know this. We don't really have a choice here, even on our coming down to our like governor elections in a liberal state like California. Both the options are pretty much the same, and it's because they come from the same strata of the population, which is the fucking richest people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone have any like final thoughts on this? I guess
no,
this
we
is
can move on.
miscellaneous section. Well, let's get to Colombia then, because that's some big news. And we don't have to play this video because he's speaking Spanish, and I'm not a very good translator. But let's put this all in context. Like, so not, we covered Bolivia, and obviously our show started post-coup, but we covered, the brutal austerity from the coup, murders of, union leaders and protesters, the mishandling of COVID. And all this is supported by the U.S., by the way. Janine Áñez, the president that was put in as the coup leader of Bolivia, was basically okayed by the fucking CIA and okayed by the U.S. State Department. And, we covered Bolivia's rise to push them out and to, build a different future for themselves, one that is more equal and where all people in their society share, the fruits of their fucking labor. But, we've also covered across Latin America, there are other, neoliberal puppets and coup leaders that we need to watch out for. Argentina, in Venezuela with Guaido, and we've talked about that quite a bit. And we've also talked about Ivan Duque before. I think I looked back, it was somewhere in like the, teens and then maybe in the 20s of our show numbers. There's literally photos of Ivan Duque associating with both cartel members and with Juan Guaido, who is a clear, puppet of the U.S. regime. And also he, everything the U.S. State Department has said, both in the Trump administration and now with Biden and Blinken, they fully support this guy, Duque, and all the shit he does to the Colombian people. And, Colombia is even, I don't remember know if you guys remember, but when there was all the like USAID stuff coming into Venezuela, and it was like set on fire, and they were claiming that Maduro was burning like, medical supplies and stuff, when the reality was it was basically wagons filled with weapons and stuff so that they could give them to insurgents in Venezuela to overthrow the democratically elected government. Well, in doing that, that was done through Colombia. And I think during that time, there was a stockade of Colombian forces like ready to basically go into Venezuela at the behest of the U.S. Wow. So that's this fucking guy. And now, people have been out in the streets because he's proposed a new, tax like reform bill that effectively puts all the onus on the poor while giving massive tax breaks to the rich. Sounds familiar. We've got that here too. And, people came out in force, like in Bolivia, because they have a true politics of solidarity, honestly. And their response, with the backing and the okay of the U.S., has been to brutalize and murder protesters. And if we can go to the next piece, Carlos. I don't know how to correctly pronounce them, even though we read their stuff like all the time now. But it's Kawasachin News. And because of this, Colombian unions have basically called a national strike, or maybe we've called it a general strike before. They're going to strengthen their resolve. Like, the murder of these protesters has not made them want to back down. So I'll read here. Colombia's National Strike Committee is calling on citizens to maintain and increase national mobilization despite Ivan Duque's withdrawal of the neoliberal tax reform bill. During a 10 a.m. press conference on Monday, the committee made up of the Central Unitaria de Trabajadores and the Confederación General de Trabajo and the Confederación de Trabajadores de Colombia and Federación Colombiana de Trabajadores de la Educación announced its decision to continue the strike and national mobilization and stated the committee's central objectives. Representatives read a statement by the committee saying, quote, "We consider the announcement of the withdrawal of the tax reform bill as a triumph of the millions of Colombians who have mobilized and of the majority support that the citizenship gave to the national strike. This happens after 6 days of national strike in which civilian, military, and police authorities have daily curtailed the freedoms and democratic guarantees for the exercise of social protests, which has left dozens of people murdered, hundreds injured and detained. However, this announcement does not deactivate the mobilization. The people in the streets are demanding much more than the withdrawal of the tax reform," which is, very similar to what we saw in Bolivia. Like the coup government was willing to give concessions to the Bolivian people, and they kept coming out in force day in, day out, despite the repression and murders of protesters and leaders. And look what that's done. I mean, we've covered this, they've returned the fucking IMF loan that was meant to bankrupt their country. They've removed most of the coup government. Janine Áñez, the coup president, is in jail there. They're getting true justice, and I hope Colombia keeps seeking that path too. It looks like they're taking all the right steps to. It's so sad to see that, in this process, people are going to be fucking murdered and brutalized. But, that's not their fault. They're doing this is their country, and they're fighting for, they're fighting for democracy. Let's be real.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the U.S. is trying to do everything to stop that.
Because true democracy gets in the way of the extraction of fucking natural resources.
Exactly.
And just straight up money.
Yeah, we can't let them govern themselves and decide their own destiny. They have to be, liege under us. So I have some videos here because, it kind of blew up a little bit on some of the social media sites because whenever protesters get murdered, rightfully so, I think it becomes news. Mm-hmm. But this didn't get a whole lot of fucking mainstream coverage. And look at just play the video, Carlos. Look how many people are coming out in force to stand against this. And we have the redfish one too that kind of shows people marching through the streets as well.
This is Twitter's video compression at its finest.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was probably the worst I've ever seen in quite a long time.
That music's fire though.
Hey, for real. And kind of an aside while you're playing this too, we talked about this with Bolivia. No, don't fucking criticize them for coming out while there's COVID. They're coming out to resist a government that's literally killing people. They don't want to be out doing this.
No, and a bigger thing is their government's trying to fuck them over and do this regressive tax system all during a pandemic that's
right
destroying their country. They're further extracting wealth from the poorest of the poor in that country. You have no choice but to go out into the street.
If you're actually concerned about COVID, the goal is to get rid of these fucking neoliberal governments and let them rule themselves.
The blame is entirely on the government here. These people are just responding to the just shitty actions of their government.
Exactly. Yeah, and even then, in a
and to take that
third world country, they're out there fucking masked up. It looks like too, and
yeah,
shit.
And another third world country, the United States, fucking if justice was properly taken with the death of people like George Floyd, etc., all that which sparked these huge Black Lives Matter protests, we wouldn't have been out there fucking protesting. If the system worked and as it says it does, we wouldn't have to go out there and risk COVID, risk getting arrested, risk getting shot, risk losing complete functionality of your eyes and limbs, because of the police. If if the system worked as intended, we wouldn't have been out there.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be everywhere for everything. If the system's not working, you have a right, especially here in the United States, you have your right to give your First Amendment. You go use it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll keep tabs with, because obviously, as we read from that statement from the National Strike Committee, like they're committed to keeping to this, so we'll keep a tab on this. And I mean, yeah, like I said, it's sad to see people being murdered and stuff, but it's always good to see this happening because it's finally a politics of solidarity when we see it happening in Bolivia, in Colombia. A story we covered even in small cities like Elizabeth City, North Carolina, we see mobilizations like this happening. And no matter how small or how big they seem, it's going to take all these together to finally bring like a change,
Yeah, or the Bessemer, Alabama, like
Yeah.
it's all these moving pieces, it's all these gears in a larger international movement and an international solidarity.
Right, and that's why we cover it, because who else is going to cover this, right?
Yeah, you're not gonna see this shit on fucking CNN.
Nope.
You can't go to your nightly news and get actual coverage on what's happening in the world.
Yeah, I think especially this from here, like the Colombian piece we just did and the half of the show after the break, like none of this stuff will be shown on mainstream news because they don't want to talk about our military interventions. And that is something I'm proud our podcast has really been focused on, is the foreign policy of this administration, because it tells you that this administration is literally no different from the last. And
it's no different from Obama.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They're all the same.
And yeah,
and it shows you how dishonest the domestic policy changes are, because they're not changing on the foreign policy front. We know the reality is they're not going to change at home either.
Absolutely. And JX, you're right. Like it's all behind a paywall when you go to big places like the Wall Street Journal. Like the piece we pulled out that was written by a sitting senator, we couldn't even fucking read the entire thing because the Wall Street Journal wants to make more and more money. Like literally, like Ted Cruz, like fuck Ted Cruz, but he wrote something. We should
government salary.
Yeah, everybody should be able to read exactly what the fuck he wrote in that article, regardless of the Wall Street Journal's paywall situation. That's somebody who is invested in our politics and somebody who has the power to change people's lives for a negative or a positive, which is always a negative in the case of Ted Cruz because he doesn't care about people. But yeah, like it's absolutely true. I think that's something cool about like just left independent media is nothing's behind a paywall. Like they're gonna give you all the important sauce up front, and then you get a little extra, tidbits and whatnot. Fucking if you want to like support them further, but they'll give you what you want up front.
Right. It's kind of like our bias thing, right? Like we're being completely upfront with what we are and what we do and what we believe. And in doing that, like we offer you all of our shit up front. Like, here you go.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're not going to withhold what we believe or what we do or what we want to teach you or what we can offer, because that's stupid.
Well, I will, but
yeah, of course.
Especially the irony with a lot of corporate news, how it's like they're trying to shit on like independent media now because we're more willing to be upfront about it,
right?
By saying things like, "Oh, we're not trying to influence your opinion. We're
right."
Right, and that's how we're not trying to do actual journalism or anything over here. We're just trying to keep you mindlessly entertained for a couple hours.
Right. And that's how they get away with this. We're authoritative voices because we're completely neutral to the discussion. Like, and that's how they do legitimize us. Like, we're a small channel with an opinion. It's like, yeah.
It was especially
how it works.
Well, if you understand like manufacturing consent, it's part of why they won't tell you up front what they really think and what they believe is, to subvert it into you indirectly. Because if they were upfront about it, you would be able to come to your own conclusions.
Right, because it's not that they don't have no agenda. They absolutely have an agenda. They're going to pretend they don't, but they're selling you one the whole time.
Yeah, yeah, like
so
literally CNN's like whole thing is them being like centrist and
right.
having real debates, but in reality,
but they're telling you what to think.
Yeah, and the two people they have on to like CNN has like you said those old debates, like they have two people that generally agree on most things.
Right.
And we'll have like a small like worthless debate about some non-issue or an issue that really doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, we'll never tell you what the as audience will never tell you what to think, but we'll tell you what we think.
Well, especially with like the political situation with the two-party rule, it definitely benefits mainstream media, and that's why they want to keep it going, keep third parties out. They might ruin the fun.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. That way they they don't have a cabal of people they can work between, right? The devils they know. Cabal, yeah.
Yeah, and literally just covering outsiders will get you thrown off the network.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think on that note, do we want to hit our break so we can finish out our second half?
Yeah, we can do that. And to take you on the break, we have the new Cola Boy track.
Oh, hell yeah.
I have not given
the MGMT one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, nice. Hell yeah.
So yeah, we're getting copyrighted on YouTube.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But yeah, okay. Enjoy we'll be back.
Deuces.
Deuces.
You don't have to walk and see those eyes. You don't have to strut and feel and stare. You don't have to walk. You don't have to talk. Every single day it's just the same. You don't have to walk. You don't have to talk. You don't have to strut and feel and stare. When I was a boy, I was criticized. Now I flipped it and I'm happy inside. My neckerchief is tight. My shore is looking bright. Everything is taking flight today. You don't have to walk. You don't have to talk. You don't have to strut and feel and stare. You don't have to walk. You don't have to talk. You don't have to strut and feel and stare. I see them looking down on my dreams of being. I hear them making fun of my voice. But I keep on moving forward. I refuse to live in anyone else's shadow. Oh, light me up, smoke, I'll be okay. Bring me my guitar and I'll dream away. I'm a new man compared to the old me. Don't believe it, then just listen to this. You don't have to walk. You don't have to talk. You don't have to strut and feel and stare. You don't have to walk. You don't have to talk. You don't have to strut and feel and stare.
Hello. The song
I
didn't
saw
end
you
for
going for that PB.
the song didn't end for me, so I was like, okay, break's not over yet. I guess I have a delay on my shit. Yeah, I haven't eaten all day. I'm hungry.
Eat it. No, you need it. We need your energy. Is it just PB or is it?
Yeah, just peanut. We don't have any honey or anything.
Damn, it's all right. It's something. Is it crunchy peanut butter or is it creamy?
Creamy. I'm not a big fan. Crunchy's cool, but I prefer.
Crunchy's not bad if you only have peanut butter though, like because then you got another texture instead of just the What'd you get at Panda, Michael? Like, what's your go-to meal? I saw you got Panda Express.
Of course, chow mein.
Yeah, do you do double chow mein or you do chow mein rice?
Chow mein rice.
Okay.
But lately I haven't been getting the white rice. I've just been getting fried rice.
So that's my go-to. My go-to
because I like the vegetables in it.
Yeah, I like the peas and the carrots and stuff.
And then I usually get the honey sesame chicken breast and string bean chicken.
My dad likes the string bean chicken.
My go-to.
Today I had something different. I had the spicy stuff. I don't know what it was, but I didn't like it.
The spicy stuff. Hell yeah.
Spicy stuff.
My go-to is orange chicken, honey walnut shrimp, chow mein, fried rice. Their honey walnut shrimp so good.
It's pretty good. Yeah. I mean
Their chicken that's like in slices.
The teriyaki. No, like not that stuff. He doesn't eat chicken.
Well, no, I meant like Ian.
Oh, well, no.
Oh. No, I've never.
Why
heard
is
it.
he good?
I just wanted to know. I just wanted to know if you guys about it.
No.
I forgot what it's called. I don't know.
Damn.
I'm hungry.
Oh, actually, what is really good is the chicken from The Habit. Not the grilled chicken, but their crunchy chicken. The crispy chicken.
Crunchy chicken. It's like a crispy chicken sandwich.
So, like yesterday,
Does every place have that now?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, chicken is. I think I read like a statistic. I don't know how accurate it was, but it was like more people are buying chicken sandwiches rather than like hamburgers, like like meat,
right?
Kind of like that kind of stuff, like patties or whatever. I don't know. Chicken is just like the choice nowadays. But anyway,
Biden's banning meat. No.
I had The Habit yesterday, and I had the grilled chicken sandwich on ciabatta bread with teriyaki sauce. That's like my go-to.
Fancy.
Sounds good.
But on the side, I substituted the fries and a drink with you don't have to substitute it. I just did. But
bottle of Merlot and a salad.
The 6-piece crispy chicken like side. It was so good.
Cognac.
I want some fucking. Oh man.
Are you even an American if you can't like you ask someone like X fast food place in their order like
yeah
that's all we're useful for, right?
It's just what to get at a fast food.
Like what do you get at Wendy's?
like my go-to McDonald's meal is cool.
What's your go-to McDonald's meal?
All right, lately it's been you get the Big Mac meal, so you get the fry and the drink.
Okay.
And you get a 10-piece, and then you get a vanilla shake. Because the Shamrock's gone.
The Shamrock's gone now. What a tragedy.
Oh, it's the best thing on the menu. It's the only
time I ever go to McDonald's.
It's the time I go to McDonald's the most.
Don't they have something else now? It's a different seasonal one.
Do they?
Yeah, it sounded gross though.
Ouch.
What are other fast food places that you have like a marquee order for? I pretty much order the same thing at all fast food places because I can only order like one or two things, and I think that's most people anyway. Though they only order
Burger King.
Oh God,
Burger King's trash. But okay, what you do is you get the rodeo burger. It's like it's a super cheap burger. It's just barbecue sauce, onion rings, meat, right? Cheese, I think. You get 2 of those, not a lot of money. Then they have the 10 chicken nuggets for $1, like $1.79. It's definitely like
$1.
It's like definitely horse meat, but it's 10 nuggets. You get like two.
Indigestion.
If you need more, if you're super hungry, you get like two. That's only like $3 for 20 nuggets. It's crazy. And that's it. Like, but those are like the main. Like you can just get those and be set. Eat like a king.
Don't you like? I don't know. Like, it's pretty cool how like you can go to different Burger Kings or like different fast food places in different locations, and they'll uniquely fuck up your order in different ways at all those places. It's awesome.
Then I don't blame them. That shit sucks.
What? Well, okay, you know, like how you see fast food places that have buildings and they'll be like an old building and they'll change it into a Pizza Hut or something. What place has the most like variability between chains? Like ones where like every building is like, how the fuck is that also a Taco Bell? Taco Bell's up there because I've seen some pretty weird Taco Bells.
I've seen them all. They're all the same to me.
Really? Because a lot of them, they have like that old style that all the Taco Bells, like the 90s Taco Bell look. And then a bunch of them are like, have you seen like what McDonald's, like all the new McDonald's?
They're all just like black.
Gray? Yeah, what the fuck is that?
Well, it's just it's just like the whole like.
The new McDonald's or the old one?
The corporate minimalism thing.
Like not our specific McDonald's, but like new fast food places that they're like building and remodeling. They make them like this plain black gray.
It's like a grayscale type of like
contemporary. It's like
modern.
It's just
like Ian's saying though, it's fucking dystopic.
Like, yes, it's straight up just like corporate minimalism. Like they want everything to be as simple as cheap as possible, so they can focus on making money.
It looks just like a fucking cement like communications building with no windows.
Well, yeah, they don't have to anymore. Like McDonald's is too big to fail. They can literally just they can just never run an ad again if they didn't want to, and they'll still be fine.
Right. They'll never have to build a fucking kiddie playground ever again, too.
Yeah, that shit's gone.
God damn.
Oh, like they'll even have like Ledgerstone, if you know what Ledgerstone is. Like in the
No.
It's you know how like some
is it like the faux brick?
It's just a bunch of like stacked stones on top of each other that make up like a pillar.
Okay.
But,
like, it's called, oh yeah, this shit. Yeah.
Ledgerstone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's just stacked stone. But yeah, like I think McDonald's, all the McDonald's, like the new ones, all have that now too. Like the one here at next
on
to Channel Islands.
Yeah.
On Channel Islands.
Yeah, the one by the base looks like that.
Yeah, that has a bunch of Ledgerstone on it, and I know that I don't know if you've noticed, but the McDonald's here over by the airport, in El Tapatio, that one is being remodeled right now. It's closed.
God, is it just? It's probably gonna look exactly.
They're gonna make you know how that they have this ugly ass intercom through the drive-through.
Yeah.
They're getting rid of that, and they're gonna make it a double drive-through now as well.
Right.
So,
it seems like what they're all doing now.
So because I know that one kind of gets packed around some parts of the day, but
fuck yeah, it's cheaper than the other one.
Yeah, I was about to say, watch, the prices are gonna go up on that one. That one was the spot.
Well, I wish I don't know if they will, but they probably will someday, like change up the interior and the exterior of the actual building. I think right now they're just focusing on the drive-through.
Yeah, they got to put the suicide nets on the inside. They literally look like those places though, like windowless fucking cement rooms.
They gotta keep you from jumping into the deep fryer.
It's like that. It's like that shit from fucking Fairly Odd Parents, the Pixies or whatever.
Yeah.
I saw that shit on Twitter. That shit killed me.
Like when it starts like zapping all the fairy world stuff and turning it into like business corporate shit.
It's funny how like funny. It's like just base that is though.
That's a great cartoon.
It's just true.
Would Starbucks count? Judge Hugley says.
Yeah, like Starbucks just pop up in the middle of nowhere.
Oh yeah,
they'll put a Starbucks in anything.
There was that one abandoned building at the Esplanade. It was like, I forget what it was before. I think it was like some failed like bank or something, and it just became Starbucks.
Yeah.
Like just.
Although like when they change it though, Starbucks they do make them have like a look now. They have that like weird.
There's a Starbucks.
But they'll use any building. Yeah, they'll use any building. But have you seen some they don't even bother like converting to like the style of the? They're just like, let's take an Arby's and make it a Pizza Hut and just roll with it.
Like the same chairs will be inside or whatever.
Yeah, same chairs, like intercom. Like you'll even see old like logos and shit. Yeah, we don't get that as much where we are because we don't got as many remnant chains. A lot of them like that are Spud Nuts though. Aren't Spud Nuts as a chain like defunct and they're all just independent little shops now?
Fuck, I want a Spud Nuts. I'm hungry.
I was gonna say I absolutely hate when I go into like a restaurant and they have you sit down at the booth and it looks like a comfortable booth and then you sit down and the back is plastic. Like it's not.
Oh, dude,
it's
yep.
not cushion. It's just fake cushion and
Yep,
made out of plastic. And it looks real, but I'm like, my back.
Yeah, like worse than a school chair.
Yeah, absolutely.
School chairs, I got the best naps in those.
If you sleep this, yeah, like that.
I got incredible naps.
The best back cracks on those.
Oh yeah, you're telling me. Especially the ones that were already like there was like the white crease from being bent back so many times.
Yeah, I would always just pull back on it and then it would just crack my upper back like all the time. And then I would like push up and keep going all the way down.
Buy one retail or something.
Yeah, give it in my room.
But the only ones that like really worked were the ones that connected to the desk, so that you push the desk away.
Yeah,
and it didn't work. Yeah,
it was crazy. Like
how much they sell those for?
Like my mom was telling me, like when she was in, when she was in high school, like they had the desk where like you can lift up the top and put your shit in there.
Yeah.
Like I wish I had one of those desks. Those desks sound raw.
I had one of those in elementary. It didn't lift, but like you had like a drawer that you put stuff in, basically. That was cool. I think at Soria they had our middle school. They had ones that had like a cubby kind of on the inside of the desk on some of them, and that was kind of sketch because you could like put. That's like middle school. Like people are starting to do sketchy shit by then. You don't need cubbies inside a desk.
People are rubbing shit on the walls in middle school.
Remember when people would take mechanical pens and they put like BBs and shit in them, and people got big trouble for they were doing that in those. Yeah, that was a thing in middle school for sure. They were like shooting BBs out of mechanical pens like slingshots. People were getting in big trouble.
Plus, you had to like, because you had to like get up and move from class to class at that point. So it's like you leave shit in there and forget about it like super easily.
Yeah.
Like that's how I lost my iPod like back in 7th grade. Like,
dude,
I accidentally left it in there and I was like, shit. And I went back and it was gone.
I remember it was freshman year and I just got an iPod Touch as like a gift for Christmas or whatever. And I was in Hoppel's class, one of our older classrooms. And I had to put your fucking stupid book bags at the front of the desk or at the front of the room, like on the floor. Like there's just no designated place. I guess somebody like stepped on it at some point and just, yeah, like brand new. Used it a couple of times and it just ruined.
I'm sorry, Miss Hoppel.
But I was like, damn.
iPod Touches were like a huge popular thing.
No, I know.
Well, it was kind of before people could really have a phone, or it was like.
Well, the thing is that iPhones were a thing, and even back then I was so confused as to why do they have iPod Touches. I don't get it. Like your phone does the exact same thing.
Well, it's just because it's like it's
iPod
super.
Preceded it though.
It's just super good for battery life for music. Like if you only use your iPod Touch for music, you can get just so much battery life off of it.
Yeah,
but also like
at the time, like you could store a shit ton of music on this one.
But also freshman year, I think I was like on like I think I maybe still had a flip phone or like a slide phone in freshman year.
Right.
I
so in a way, it's an upgraded phone. You just gotta have Wi-Fi.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're at school, you have Wi-Fi.
Yeah, well, kind of.
it's shitty and there's a lot of restrictions, but you put a VPN on that, you're fine.
Yeah, it kind of works. Yeah.
Anyway, you want to talk? Because I kind of want to order food before it's.
Yeah,
I want to see if I can. Yeah, come on, please. Like, I want to see if I can get an order in before all the drivers go home and cry or something.
So I'll get through this one quick because I just saw it on Secretary of State Blinken's Twitter. I fucking follow on Twitter just because I hate myself. And
love to cuck yourself.
Yeah. But I love reading these memos sometimes. I think we've done it once or twice because they're just super revealing and kind of tell like what some of the next moves are going to be, so what we should expect. And in this case, not good. This is Blinken with the UK Foreign Secretary, Dominic Raab. This was on the 3rd. Their conversation. It says, Foreign Secretary Raab Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's a huge pleasure to welcome fucking Secretary of State Blinken to the UK. Blah blah blah. Blinken, thank you. Foreign Secretary Raab, warm welcome. I think it's fair to say the Biden administration is barely 100 days old, but has already taken a huge number of bold and very welcome steps on issues like climate change, global health, and human rights. Which fucking notice how he cites no specific examples of doing any of those. And that's really created a momentum and efforts to tackle these pressing global issues. Since Tony's confirmation, I also thought that was really hilarious that he keeps referring to him as fucking Tony, like there's some, compadres or something, rather than this is a international relations meeting between countries. Since Tony's confirmation, we've been working very closely together. And today's meeting has been another reminder of the depth and breadth of the work that we do together, the convergence of our interests, and the many shared values. So today, Tony and I discussed a full range of issues. I'll give you a highlight of, I think, some of the key points, and pay attention here because I think this is the key part. We talked about our shared commitment to stand up for open societies, democracy and human rights, protecting fundamental freedoms, tackling disinformation, holding human rights abuses to account. We talked, a key element of this is defending the rule of law. So we're determined to reform but reinforce the multilateral system. We want to keep working together very closely on all these points to the G7 and President Biden's Democracy Summit, something that we're also going to pay attention to. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I think this kind of tells what's going to happen at that summit already, like what the rhetoric is going to be. And here, the next paragraph is the real key. We also discussed China. I think it's fair to say we see eye to eye on the need to stand up for our values, holding Beijing to the commitments that they've made. Whether it's in relation to Hong Kong under the Joint Declaration or wider commitments, whilst also at the same time finding constructive ways to work with China in a sensible and positive manner where that's possible. That's important, I think, on global issues like climate change. The hypocrisy here. We want to see China stepping up to the plate and playing its full role. So, yeah, and what I mean by how this is going to tell, or how this tells us what they're going to do at the next summit, like, we kind of saw it in Biden's, address to Congress and his first address to the nation, basically. They're being really hawkish on China, and, kind of the goal here, I saw someone else say this too, it's like, they say this every time, like, we want to reaffirm human rights and, fundamental human rights. And, of course, when you call everything you do reaffirming fundamental human rights, that's what you're going to do. But, we know the reality is what that means is they're going to further suppress human rights, do stuff like in the case of Colombia, support Ivan Duque and his administration that's killing protesters, or, further be hawkish to China or Russia, as he goes on to talk about later too as well, like be more hawkish on Russia's border with NATO. So yeah, I just wanted to read this because it paints kind of what I think the next 3 to 4 months are going to be, which is going to be increasing rhetoric on why China is bad and why China needs to step up on climate change and human rights. Meanwhile, we, not only pollute the planet, I think the U.S. military alone is like one of the largest producers. It's like the 10th largest producer, producer of carbon dioxide.
Well, and then, like, what this is more than anything is just it's continuing to, like, just with how we've operated in the past and how other governments have operated like historically in the past. It's just you continue to scapegoat the issue.
Mm-hmm.
You make everybody think that you're not the problem. Like the whole, like, the not only the environmental thing, like, but the human rights thing. It's like,
yes,
it's the fucking United States of fucking America, dude. Like, not only are we destroying this country through our environmental injustice, but we're fucking, like, literally on the daily just slaughtering innocent people.
Right. Well, the hypocrisy to say that, well, every day innocent black men are being killed. Like, we were talking about in North Carolina, or with George Floyd, or the numerous other cases we.
Yeah, and then all this at the same time as like the whole Uyghur Muslim situation, which I'm not saying anything's not true or untrue, but the true thing is the
We have
United
no right to say anything.
Not only that, the United States doesn't care about them and is only using this as a talking point for a reason to get more and more hawkish with the country, with the People's Republic of China. Like, at no point in any given moment in history did we care about what's going on with the Uyghur Muslims. We would gladly do the same to them, but as long as we were in control of the territory or in control of the geopolitical game that's going on.
Yeah, there's I think it was the Gray Zone who had on a journalist who'd actually been to the Uyghur area, and he explained what it's like there, and like some of the history behind it.
Yeah, and that's actually, I saw that too. Like, that's something we should cover because it's way more nuanced than is getting covered in Western media.
More or less, like, TLDR, it's like things have been bad for a really long time, and like now they're just getting like slightly better.
Yeah,
but yeah, we're using it as like an excuse to, like, paint them as the oppressors of these people when they're like a border community.
Yeah, like we actually like I said, like nobody actually cares in the United States government, at least. It's just
well, like clearly they don't. Like, who's the biggest, culprit for, well, frankly, the fucking destruction of the Muslim people? The United States, dude. Like, with the invasion of Iraq and the, the various interventions we have in the Middle East, like, we are the biggest threat to Muslims worldwide.
Yeah, who's done more harm total to Muslims? To Muslims,
no question.
Yeah.
Or like one of the comparisons they made is like, look how that area is treated versus how like Palestine is treated with Israel.
Right, the open apartheid, which we've talked about.
Yeah, and who's the biggest ally to Israel? The United States.
Yeah.
Like, whose name is on the weapons that they're using? The United States of America.
Yeah. I'm glad you bring that up, though, because even in there, too, like, and this is something, like, we didn't really cover because it was kind of a little bit after we started our show, was a lot of the Hong Kong protest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was also that faint, too. Like, they care about, quote, democracy in fucking Hong Kong when, the reality is not only did, in part, we help create the situation there in general, but, yeah, obviously, as you're saying, they don't care. And that's why it's so funny to see, like, I think I even remember, like, Ted Cruz and other Republican senators, like, oh, we stand with Hong Kong.
Yeah,
give me a break. So, yeah, we can move from this. And actually, I think, Carlos, you have the next piece, yes?
Well, it's kind of like more or less like a slight follow-up. It's with talking about it. Antony Blinken with some of the hypocrisy he showed on World Press Freedom Day. Kind of similar to this here of upholding the U.S. values without really, having any action behind it, and doing the opposite, or doing that which you were accusing other countries of doing, which is just classic U.S. playbook strategies. So this is a little write-up from Kevin Gostola. As the U.S. government marks World Press Freedom Day by ignoring their attacks on press freedom. Very aptly named. Secretary of State Antony Blinken marked World Press Freedom Day by calling attention to governments that are, quote-unquote, becoming less transparent and more repressive. Quote, some governments incarcerate journalists, harass them, target them for violence, Blinken stated.
Some
use other, more subtle methods, like mandating professional licenses for journalists and using endless bureaucracy to keep them out of reach, or imposing high taxes on newsprint to push independent media out of business. Well, yeah, it sounds like some countries way far away that are definitely not the United States.
Sounds like he's familiar with all the tactics. Yeah.
Blinken's comment entirely ignored press freedom in the United States, instead focusing on countries like China, Russia, Pakistan, Venezuela, Turkey, Hungary, and quote-unquote third world countries in Africa and Central Asia. Yet he could have been describing his country. In 2020, 416 journalists were assaulted, 139 journalists were arrested or detained, 109 journalists had their equipment damaged, 31 journalists or news organizations were subpoenaed, according to the U.S. Press Freedom Tracker, curated by the Freedom of the Press Foundation, and several other leading press freedom organizations. On average, the police kill 3 men per day, roughly 1,000 a year. Only a small fraction of these killings result in uprisings, but when they do, journalists face repression from local police forces and city governments that decline to intervene. So I think that, kind of sums it up. I mean, just, think about Julian Assange and how we're treating him. He's over in the UK right now, and we're doing everything we can to bring him here to America and try him for, even though he's not a U.S. citizen.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to, frankly, torture or execute him if he comes here. I mean, that's the goal in getting him here.
Yeah.
You're right. Like, to say that, and then, or even another example of someone that was even born here, like, Edward Snowden can't come home. Like, where's the... I mean, obviously, they're going to, if you were to ask Tony Blinken, like, these examples, they would say, well, that's not press freedom. Those are examples of threats to press freedom and democracy, right? Which, as we covered, are, completely baseless, illegitimate, and people like Assange and Snowden are the only reason we, even have an inkling of press freedom.
What they do is considered the highest form of journalism. And so the U.S. government's only real attempt to combat it, or the only thing they can do, is define it as not as journalism, but define it as a crime. And consider leaks not journalism.
They didn't realize that people would actually take what they, when they say freedom of the press, they were like, oh shit, people actually took it seriously.
Right, they gotta talk about what we do.
We weren't talking about us. We
They're like, shit, we forgot
say what we do.
Yeah, they're like, shit, we forgot that means us too.
And even beyond, like, these, like, highly individualized cases, even though there's a shit ton of them, of the U.S. prosecuting journalists and whistleblowers. Like, even, like he's saying, just look on the ground with how police harass and attempt to arrest, and sometimes do arrest, journalists, just on the local level. Like, in some of those streams I was watching for Status Coup for Elizabeth City, North Carolina, they were literally threatening, the police were, like, threatening to arrest the journalists covering it that were there. And, yeah, that's totally illegal. So, yeah.
Which is the point. Like, they understand that as soon as they arrest them, they pretty much have to let them go right after. But
yeah, they just want to make sure they can't
scare
cover
tactics.
Yeah, and
like, during
the more you can
sorry.
No, I was gonna say, like, the more you suppress the movement, the better for them, at least, for the police.
Well, yeah, it's a quick way to get them to leave and to say, like, I'm gonna arrest you. Get out of here. Yeah.
And it's like, what are you gonna do? Deal with all the repercussions of getting arrested? Fucking, or even if it's literally a catch and release thing, like.
It now limits your ability to do journalism.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're like, hey, I want to be an effective journalist, I might not want to get arrested.
Yeah, exactly.
And stuff like that really shows how there is no mechanism to go against the police when they do wrong.
Right.
Or make them suffer repercussions for it.
Right, and it's a culture that's fostered all the way up to the top with guys like Blinken and Biden, because they're the ones that are saying abroad is where the persecution of journalists and whistleblowers happen, but not here. And then, through the various levels of state and federal government, they fucking reinforce that. And the reality is we act like it's happening elsewhere while pretend like it doesn't happen here while we're the worst actors in it. Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at
Why are you laughing?
look at what a Braum sent in the fucking Twitter chat.
Hell yeah, no.
I fucking just see my phone light up and I see
There'd be a Netanyahu meme. Oh god.
Shout out to Braum, man. Big Abe.
God. I think they honestly think no one reads normal people never read the State Department releases, because honestly no one does. But that's why I like following him on Twitter, because like you get one of these and it just tells you everything you like. They're trying to be tongue in cheek when I read it, and they're calling each other by their first name and shit, buddy. But if you read through the language, like you could see what their position is. So do we want to? That was really good though, Cruz. I thought that tied in well to the press release. Do we want to go to the next thing?
Oh yeah, we can.
Okay, so the next thing I have here, and actually, if you could skip to 136 in the video, and my memory's a little rough right now, but I'm pretty sure we've covered the Duma gas attacks, chemical attacks, and the OPCW, which is a group that looks into chemical weapons attacks and determines whether or not they happened, who did them, etc. This is a worldwide international group. We've talked about before how they came in to investigate the Duma chemical attack in Syria that the U.S. claimed was done by the Assad government on its own people, which wouldn't really make sense because Assad wouldn't want the U.S. government to come in and do regime change in his country. But even within the OPCW, we've now found that the investigators that showed that this wasn't the Assad government, and that in fact this was basically a conspiracy that was most likely done, by the U.S. government, the UK government, and other Saudi Arabia as well. They completely covered that up and have suppressed these investigators up to the highest level within the OPCW and within the EU as well. And Jimmy Dore has Aaron Maté on, who's honestly fucking one of the best journalists out there, especially on this specific issue. This is like his issue. He's even spoken to the UN Security Council, or maybe just the UN at large, about it. Obviously they don't fucking care. It's still cool he did it. It shows that he's versed in this subject. He's legit. And this is important because, like I said, this isn't going to get covered in fucking mainstream media at all. This is something that is in the background and we never talk about at all. Why we're in Syria, what's happening there. And as Aaron Maté points out too, like it's important to find out what exactly happened with this gas attack because we know the Assad government didn't do it. So people did die. People were gassed there. People were murdered, and it was most likely the U.S. government. So that needs to be uncovered. Like that's the real news that needs to be uncovered. So let's let the video play out. He lays it out perfectly.
So set this up for us. Go ahead.
So yeah, listen. When so you were rightly skeptical of all of these claims of chemical weapons attacks in Syria, and what they are used for is to basically justify this multi-billion-dollar, multi-year dirty war that the U.S. and its allies have been waging in Syria. They justify bombing campaigns like the ones Trump did, and they also justify ongoing U.S. military occupation. We don't really talk about it in this country, but the U.S. is currently occupying 1/3 of Syria and controlling its oil and preventing Syria from accessing its oil and its own wheat while Syrians are starving. And so these chemical attacks have been major parts of the propaganda war against Syria. And what's amazing is that, so when the one in Duma happened, the one we're talking about now in April 2018, you're one of the few people to be skeptical and to point out the flaws in the official story. But then we got a series of leaks from inside the body that investigated it, which showed that their own inspectors had also undermined the allegation too, but that they got censored. So at the OPCW, there was a massive cover-up. And what's incredible now is that, not only were there only a few of us like you who were debunking the official story back then, but even now that these leaks come out, the story is being ignored.
Yes.
Because it's so damning to the official narrative. It shows that the OPCW, the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, is being compromised to basically justify U.S. warfare. And that their own scientists, their own inspectors, undermine the allegations that were used to bomb Syria. So this has been now a 2-year controversy. We're coming up on 2 years of this being in the public, of these leaks. And it went to the UN recently where a few of us were invited to come testify. Russia and China organized a meeting of the UN Security Council, and they also invited Lawrence Wilkerson, the former chief of staff to Colin Powell, and Hans von Sponek, who was the former assistant secretary general of the UN. And they have signed recently this thing called the Statement of Concern, which is just calling on the OPCW to address this, because the evidence here is damning. There's documents. There's a whole series of leaks, and it shows what the actual original inspectors found, how that was censored, how the OPCW put out a bogus report to basically justify U.S. warfare. And so now there's growing pressure on the OPCW and the U.S. and UK and France to account for this and to come clean and to meet with the dissenting inspectors who were censored. But they won't do that. They cannot acknowledge even the whistleblower's existence because it's so damning to their pro-war narrative. So, but you have people who are pushing back on this. And so I went to the UN to speak out about this issue and to debunk some of the claims that have been made to justify the cover-up of and the refusal to meet with the dissenting inspectors. And we'll see that in response, the OPCW and the powerful states, the US, UK, and France, they can't address the issue on the substance. All they can do is lie and try to change the subject.
So let's get to some of, and let me just repeat, it wasn't a hard story to get right, because I got it right. It's not hard, and the reason why I knew that this was bogus was because I found a videotape of Christina from CNN who interviewed Assad in 2006 and said that the United States were talking about regime change then. So I knew all this stuff about this was all garbage, that this was all invented by the CIA. And there's a program called Timber Sycamore, which it's so. What was that? What was Timber Sycamore? That's when the United States government, the CIA, armed rebels, meaning Al Qaeda, Al Nusra, ISIS, Islamic terrorists inside Syria to go overthrow Assad. That was called Timber Sycamore. And we funneled arms from Libya into Syria to go fight Assad. And this is all because we want to overthrow another country again. We did it in Iraq. We did it in Libya. We want to do it in Syria. Okay? We did it when we did it in Iran. We did it in Iran in 1953. We did it in Iraq. We did it in Libya. And now we want to do it in Syria. The United States wants to overthrow every country that's not friendly to us in the Middle East. That's just a fact.
And how they manufacture consent with the U.S. public is we're told that these people we're trying to overthrow are so evil.
Yeah, they're bad.
That they do things like gas their own people.
Yeah.
And so that's why when evidence comes out that undermines the narrative, it's so just devastating for the establishment. And that's why they can't even touch it. We're talking about this now, but there's really no other outlet in the U.S.
that will talk about
it because it's just too damning.
No, but even when you were at the Real News, they wouldn't cover it, right?
Well, it's interesting. At the Real News, which is a progressive news outlet, when the Duma allegation happened, when the Duma incident happened, and there were dead bodies filmed, and we were told there was a chemical attack, I remember being in a meeting, and the decision was that we just didn't want to go there, so we just didn't cover it. I remember you did. I covered the one the year before, Khan Sheikhum. That's because Seymour Hersh,
yes,
the legendary reporter, had reporting on that, which also undermined the narrative. And that's a case where, too, even someone like Cy Hersh, the best in the business, legendary, he's done everything you can do in journalism. He had to go abroad to publish his stories in Europe because he couldn't get them published here.
Also, Robert Fisk covered the Duma incident.
He did. Yes, he did.
Who is now deceased.
Yep.
He was one of the most decorated independent journalists of all of Europe, and he covered the Duma gas attack, and he was like, "This is bullshit." And so all I had to do was go read Robert Fisk, and everybody else in the world who does journalism knows who Robert Fisk is. So they could have read that too. So the point is that the journalists in the United States know they're lying to you, and they know they're pushing pro-war propaganda. They knew they were lying about Tulsi Gabbard. They knew they were smearing her, and they don't care. So that's why journalism in America is shit, and why I can do a better job than them. And I do. No matter what subject it is I turn my attention to, I will do a better job reporting than the New York Times, Washington Post, The Intercept, The Young Turks, any of them. Go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you a good anecdote on this. There's a new book out by Joby Warwick, who's a Washington Post reporter.
Exactly.
Done some good stuff in the past. It's all about Syrian chemical weapons. It's called Red Line. Whole book about the story of Syria, chemical weapons. The Obama administration was going to bomb, but then they reached this deal with Russia to destroy Syria's arsenal. And he tells a story. It's a big book, a lot of sources. And he ends the book, guess where? He ends it right after Duma. He doesn't mention what comes after Duma, which is the OPCW whistleblower saying that that the allegation of Syrian guilt is wrong and that they were censored. So you can't even mention it because it's just too damning to the narrative.
So let's get to now. I have some video.
Yeah.
Now this is from the UN hearing on this, and do you want to set up this video?
So this video right here. So there's two recent meetings. This is the first one. This was at the European Parliament, and Fernando Arias, who is the Director General of the OPCW, he came before the European Parliament to speak. And there are two lawmakers from Ireland, Mick Wallace, who we'll hear first, and Claire Daly, and they asked him about the OPCW cover-up. And his answers are very revealing.
Okay, so here's some people asking about the cover-up from the current head of the OPCW, who I'm going to guess is corrupt.
In March 2019, the OPCW put out a report on the alleged chemical attack in Duma, alleging Syrian guilt. But a series of leaks emerged from inside the OPCW, showing that the inspectors on the ground reached a very different conclusion. The so-called chemical attack, which the US, France and UK used as an excuse to bomb Syria, most likely was staged with the help of the White Helmets, a UK-US paid propaganda entity. We need clarity, we need the truth. As Julian Assange says, if wars can be started by lies, peace can be started by the truth. You are aware from the leaks now in the public domain that in June 18, a month before you became Director General, the original team report on the Duma incident found that there was no evidence of a chemical attack. But this was switched to a highly doctored version that made unsupported claims of that chemical attack. On top of the doctoring and censorship of the original report, there were other well-documented scientific and procedural irregularities. This includes the expert opinions from toxicologists who ruled out chlorine as the cause of deaths of the victims. Yet their opinion was suppressed in the final report. Also, we had false information leaked from the OPCW, the NATO...
Can you please conclude?
Sorry?
Can you please go to your conclusion?
Yeah. Director General, the credibility of the OPCW is at stake. Why will you not heed calls from renowned international figures, including the organization's first Director General, Jose Bostani, and several former team leaders from the OPCW, to meet with all the investigators, including the dissenting inspectors?
I cannot accept that you can call into question the work of an international organization and that you call into the question the word of the victims in the way you have just done.
What?
And I would... ask you, Director General, to please forgive what we just heard, which seems to me to be fake news. I give you the floor.
President, why am I the only one that was interfered with here? Is there no freedom of speech being allowed in the European Parliament anymore? What's going on?
What in the fuck was that? That's amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. So that woman who interrupted, her name is Nathalie Loiseau. She's from France. And guess what she did previously? She served in the cabinet of the French government when it bombed Syria.
Of course.
Based on the Duma allegation. Wow. So now
and
Mick
so
Wallace,
is she allowed to do that?
She's the chair of the meeting. She's the chair of that meeting. And
yeah,
so,
like fucking he lays out the whole, and it's what Aaron was saying, like this story is so damning and volatile, and it just shows that they just show the fucking, major powers, the US, France, UK, totally show their ass through this story. So it's like they can't even touch it, When this guy I forget the something Wallace or something, the Irish guy, when he fucking lays out all the facts, like all they can do is dismiss him, smear him, and then she apologizes to the director general and says it's fucking fake news.
It must be fake news.
God damn, like how bleak can it get?
And they just straight up interrupt him halfway through.
Yeah, interrupt him.
Get to your conclusion, please.
Yeah, and even later they let the Fernando Arias, the director guy that's suppressing his own investigators, they let him speak, and they let him speak with total impunity and let him say whatever he wants, and they continue to make apologies and excuses for him. So it shows who, yeah, even in the case of like the UN and stuff, like who they serve, right? Like what the interests are. And it's very sad because, like I said, like people were killed in Duma, and people have been killed in the last multiple years from us bombing Syria daily, and so this not being correctly covered, where's the justice in that?
Yeah, I've pretty much heard that response now, like every time that these allegations are brought up, and it's literally like rinse repeat the exact same thing. It's just they immediately get outraged at the question.
Yeah, because I think honestly they just want to suppress it immediately. It can't even, why even talk about it, because it's, yeah. And that's why she invokes, obviously, the, how dare you question the victims, which he's not. That's, to my point, like, you're the one you're not doing the victims of the gas attack justice, because you're not going after those who actually killed them.
And you're not even willing to talk about it.
Yeah, they don't, of course, right? They don't even want to acknowledge it, right? So yeah, we can move from that video. That was not very eye-opening, and we needed to cover it because no one else is going to. This is our last piece for the night, and I'll kind of just go through it because there's actually something Abraham sent me, and he had sent me some similar stuff that we could have comboed with this, but I thought this was one of the more striking ones that kind of tells the story and kind of, we've had Abraham on twice now, but the last time we had him on, I mean, he really went into detail on this. So it says, this is from Mexico News Daily. It says, entrenched unions cling to power despite the trade deal. Efforts to replace unions at 46 factories in Tamaulipas have stalled. Hope I'm not butchering that too bad. The new North American Free Trade Agreement is supposed to guarantee workers' right to choose the union they want to represent them. But some workers at an auto sector factory in Matamoros, Tamaulipas, have found that freeing themselves of the shackles of their current union is no easy feat. After their union, CIT-PME didn't support their fight for higher wages in 2019, a significant number of workers at the Trident Auto Parts plant decided that they wanted to be represented by a new organization led by Susana Prieto, an activist and attorney. According to the news agency Reuters, about 400 Trident reporters protested outside a labor court in Matamoros last year to be allowed to change unions. The United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, which took effect last July, enshrines workers' rights to choose which union manages their collective contract. But the Trident workers who no longer want to be represented by SIT-PME haven't managed to switch to Prieto's union, although their employer earlier this year consented to their decision to stop paying dues to the former. A quote, dismantling the power of Mexico's entrenched unions is providing a tough challenge, Reuters said, quoting labor activists. Quote again, amid resistance from SIT-PME, the Trident workers' request to be represented by Prieto's union has still not been put to a vote, the news agency said. It added that legal challenges by Prieto to replace the unions at 45 other factories in Matamoros area have, quote, stalled. According to Prieto, many Trident workers who wanted to leave SIT-PME are no longer employed at the Matamoros factory, where secondhand car parts are refitted for sale in the United States and Canada. She told Reuters that 600 of her supporters were dismissed between April and October of 2020. The news agency said it could not independently verify the claim, although it did confirm that more than 700 Trident Tridomex workers were fired in that period last year. And yeah, I mean, you see in them trying to negotiate for better wages and trying to, actually create a union that works for them. Rather, the powers that be is upholding what was once enshrined in the North American Free Trade Agreement, which is kind of what Abraham went into, is how they're stuck into these unions that are kind of repressive and repeat the same hierarchy problem we have in the normal workplace. And yeah, I mean, we'll have to have him on again too, because as he talked about with AMLO passing that new bill trying to target outsourcing, and obviously more things are going to develop here, so we have to keep our nose to that.
Sorry, I had to go handle something.
I was like, there he is.
My bad.
Hell yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt you because you started reading it.
We got to we basically got through it. Does anyone have any comments on any of the other stuff from the night? I thought we had a pretty good smorgasbord of.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we had a very diverse list here today. But I think it's really cool to see how everything kind of leads back to another in a way.
Yeah.
Which is I guess that's something that with our style of politics and just how we conduct the show in general is that's a very normal trend. We always find a way to bring it all together, or can make these kind of or give these kind of examples that would make it easier to show how tied together a lot of these things are.
Michael, you got any words of wisdom for us before we get out of here?
I don't think I do.
Great.
I want to see a breakdown of speaking time.
Oh God.
We should have an impromptu, or is it whatever they're called? What are they called?
A proctor, I think.
A prompter.
Like a teleprompt.
Yeah, a teleprompter. Yeah.
That we read from.
Give Michael.
Yeah, give me a teleprompter to read from, and then I'll just intensely.
You and Joe Biden can share the same teleprompter.
Oh, I'll put some interesting words in there for Michael.
I feel like that would be kind of
put in a sigh.
From
just write sigh.
Yeah. Yeah, don't you think that would be more difficult than reading a page of something and being like, okay, I get the gist, now I'll talk about it? Well, because you gotta read the thing and pretend you're not looking at it and shit. I don't think
I pretend. I'm not gonna pretend.
You're just gonna read something. I am now reading off the teleprompter.
President Joseph Robinette Biden.
Yeah, they gotta give it emotion. You gotta pretend a little bit.
Yeah.
Wow, I look like a fucking caveman, dude. I need a shave.
Do you believe me? I called Carolina today, and her sister came on the thing. She's like, "Oh my God, you look old." What the fuck is that about? Well, I think we said all that needs to be said.
Yeah, I think we should go.
To end Ian's hunger strike. So.
Please. Anyway, thank you guys again so much for watching. We had a strong show randomly, very random. We started the show with 12, we're ending with 10. Very awesome. Jose and Josh, thank you for the resubs. 6 months and 2 months. Yeah, I saw some new names.
Right? Not right now. Oh,
no, right now. I see one specifically. Yeah. We won't name drop because I get that's awkward. But yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate all of that, all the support. We appreciate the resubs. We appreciate even you guys just viewing. You don't have to sub or follow or anything. We would appreciate if you did, but we obviously are gonna still be here giving out leftist media news content every Wednesday, 10:30 p.m. California time, Pacific Standard, or I think the Philippines took that. California time, United States,
West.
NA West. But anyway, thank you guys so much again. We really appreciate all that. Like I said, we'll be back next Wednesday, 10:30 p.m. And yes, next Wednesday, 10:30 p.m. But
and more stuff in the works too.
More stuff in the works and a possible change in schedule.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll keep you guys all updated on our social medias: Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, all that, Spoop Podcast, everything.
And here too, I feel like anytime any major update, we always say something on the show as well.
Yeah, that as well. YouTube, like I said, YouTube, all that. Spoop Podcast, just look it up, you'll find us. Yeah, thank you guys so much. I think I missed it last episode, actually. I try to say this every episode. Workers of the world unite. It's very important that we have international solidarity with every single worker, because if one person's not free, none of us are truly free. Because somebody is always going to be exploited under this capitalist system. Global, national, what doesn't matter. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and we're all going to leave now. Good night.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind.
Funny how the wax figures begin to melt, regardless of how you felt. We're just books up on a shelf that's searching for some help, tossing coins and wishing wells. Caught up inside the swell, but I'm here so you can tell. Get it to the top, no matter what's in front of me. Searching for the creator to ask why they punish me. 100 seats in the crowd, connect with everyone. Hope my mother's proud of her imaginary son. Off in La La Land, trying to make sense of it. Got a hard shell, but everybody know we sensitive. E.T. trying to figure out a human. Planting all the seeds on my path.